How do you manage your real estate business as it begins to scale? Many investors find themselves in a predicament where their business is growing and so are their systems. They may use one system to gather leads, another to market to those leads, and a third to track KPIs. That's why Sharad Mehta, founder and CEO of RESimpli, created an all in one CRM platform for real estate investors. In this episode, we cover Sharad's background, how he identified the pain point investors were facing, and how Ari Simply helps to save time and money for lead generation and marketing. My name is Ariel Herrera, your co host of the Tech and Real Estate podcast, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. Hey, Sharad, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Hey, Ariel, my pleasure. Really excited to be on the show. Looking forward to it.
Yes. And as someone who's been able to build up a company in the real estate space, would love to dive into how you've done that. But first, want to hear a little bit more about your background. If you could touch a little bit upon your education, maybe your prior work history. And
Yeah, so I used to be an accountant. I was a CPA working for one of the biggest accounting firms in the country. Really loved the work environment, but just didn't love the work. So started looking for something else. At one point, I wanted to be a full-time poker player, but absolutely sucked at it. And then from there, started looking into real estate, which I absolutely fell in love with. So I started buying rental properties, started flipping houses, and then this time I was living in Chicago, investing in Indiana. Then 2015, my wife received a job offer to move in Carlsbad, San Diego. That's where we live right now, and we decided to move from Chicago to San Diego area. And I started looking at my business, and I noticed that I didn't have any system software that I could use in my business. So I started looking at, this was like 2015, 16. I started looking at what was out there, what was available in the market. Didn't really like anything that I fell in love with. So I hired a couple of developers to just create something very specific for myself in 2017. And they created the first product that was very specific to my business need. And then I was part of a couple of masterminds. I showed other people what I'd built, what I was using in my business, and then they became interested. And then in 2020, we opened it up for other investors also.
wow, so you had an actual problem that you were looking to face. You were moving out of
Correct.
state, wanted to be able to still maintain your properties and the business that you had going. And coming from industry background, when you start to look at tools that were existing, you were like, wait a minute, this needs to be
Right.
better. And you actually took
Absolutely.
the initiative to hire developers to build something out. So what were some of the challenges you had upfront when you were looking to build out your software?
I think for one, back in the day, and it's still a problem right now, is there would be platforms that you could use to integrate bunch of different software, which I didn't like the idea of integrating different software. It didn't make me excited in the morning. Oh, I can't wait to integrate some more software today. So I thought, hey, I don't like it. I didn't like the UI. So I wanted to the idea was to create a true all-in-one software for real estate investors where they could just log in and run their entire business from, uh, data, marketing, sales, and operations down to like doing their bookkeeping and accounting within the system to even replace QuickBooks. So that was the idea that everyone on the team needed to be on one software. It needed to look good, and we could get some really good KPIs to be able to make better data-driven decisions in our business.
Got it. And when you started that out, was it focused on the Chicago area? Or how did you decide like the scale of what you were building?
I mean, the product is not built for a specific market. It's built for a specific industry for real estate investors. It was the first version of it was built very specific to my business. Now it's grown way beyond my business. We have thousands of investors using our platform. So it's definitely grown way beyond my specific business need. We have investors that are doing way more business that I am doing or I even plan to do. I'm still actively investing, so I'm still using the platform. But now the iterations are coming from the active user feedback that are using the platform and suggesting ideas on what we could implement in our business to in our software to make it better.
Excellent. And if you could give me a bit of a walkthrough of, say, if I was a fix and flipper
Right.
and I traditionally may get some leads via wholesalers, but I'm looking for a better automated way to get leads and generate them on my own. What are some methods that I could take on your platform and leverage it for my business?
Yeah, I mean, some of the things would be where our system helps is, so it's built for investors that are doing more than a couple of deals, two, three deals a year, and they're looking to buy off-market deals. If you're an investor buying directly from MLS, doing a flip here and there, it's not ideally built for that. Though we have some investors that are using it, but it's built more for investors that are doing some direct-to-seller marketing, that are looking to buy off-market deals. And that's where our system really shines. We can help you automate a lot of the follow-ups that you have. So let's say, for example, if you are an investor and you send out some marketing, let's say, for example, direct mail, you send out 1,000 letters or postcards, you would get some people call back. Some people would say, hey, take me off the marketing list. I'm not interested. Some people, they say, I'm interested, but maybe not right now. Or you may be off on how much you're willing to offer versus how much the seller is willing to take right now. And then, but you need to follow up, right? You need to have a system to follow up. That's where our system shines, is it can automate the entire follow-up. It can send automated text messages. It can remind you when to call. It can send emails out automatically. It can send direct mail out as part of the follow-up. And I've noticed in my business where I bought properties from sellers that were on automated follow-up sequence for a couple of years. We have investors that have bought properties from other sellers that have been on follow-up for like 2, 3 years, and they've just been following up. I mean, the system has been following up, and the seller doesn't know these are automated text messages. You can really personalize it. And then when the seller is ready to sell, their situation changes and they're like, okay, I'm ready to sell. And then that's where the investor starts engaging in. But as far as the marketing is concerned, we have features built in where you can cold call from within the platform. So you don't need a separate dialer. You can call from our system. You can send text messages from our system. You can send direct mail from our platform. And you can also, we give you free website. So you can use that for your SEO marketing. You can use that for your online Facebook ads or PPC marketing.
That's great. Yeah, instead of having to juggle between multiple
Exactly.
different softwares, it's all in one. And I've actually in the past tried to set up Podio, for example, for leads and stuff. Oh, horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our tagline initially used to be work on deals, not on Podio.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where I started out looking at Podio. I just honestly hated the way it looked. It looked so clunky, and then there wasn't nothing that Podio was offering. You would still have to go get a separate phone system. You would have to
right.
integrate your email and do all these different things. And then you end up, you know, being more of a software developer than
Mhm.
actually being an investor. I didn't like the idea of doing that. And then the investors that are using our platform, they see the value in what we built. They just want to log in and focus on their business, not focus on integrating a bunch of different software.
Completely agree. Yeah, focusing
Yeah,
on the deal aspect. So a lot of
exactly.
questions that I get from investors is, well, now that I start, say, doing campaigns or lead marketing efforts, how do I know what's performing better than others? For example, should I be putting more money towards digital ads on Facebook, for example? Should I be doing it towards
I love that
mailers?
question.
Yeah.
I love that question. For investors that are doing consistent business, either marketing or payroll tends to be their biggest expense. Generally, marketing tends to be their biggest expense. And then if you can gain efficiency in marketing in your business, that's going to give you such a huge advantage. So let's go back to the example. Let's say if you're doing PPC ads, right, and you're doing direct mail, right, on a very high level. If you're not tracking your number, you may look at $5,000 that you spend on PPC ads and
Mhm.
$5,000 that you spend on direct mail. You look at that as one line item and you say, okay, I spent $10,000 in my marketing. And let's say hypothetical, you make 50,000. Like, hey, this is great. I spent $10,000 in my marketing and I made 50, which is great. So you're going to start putting more money into the marketing. but you don't know if it was the digital marketing that you're making money on or if it's a direct mail. You may not even need to do any digital marketing because the 50,000 that you made came all from direct mail. So that's why it's very, very, very critical for you to deep dive into the numbers and look at what's actually working. So this is at a very high level. Now you can even take a deep dive into direct mail. If you're doing direct mail, you might be sending, we have some investors that are doing 150 different testing at one point. They might be doing a yellow postcard versus a red postcard and see which performs better. They might be mailing to a list of owners that are pre-foreclosures, and they might be mailing to a list of people that are on probate, right? Now, if you don't track those separately, you might look at it as a combined and you might be making money, but are you making as much money as you possibly could, or you're wasting money on marketing that you should not be doing? So that's where our system really helps you track your numbers by every single marketing channel that you're doing and every single campaign that you're running within that marketing channel to really tell you which specific campaign it's working. Is it direct mail pre-foreclosure list that's making you the most money, or is it the direct mail probate list? At the end of the day, the most important number that I believe, in my opinion, that investors need to track is the ROI. For every dollar that they put in their marketing, how much money are they making back in their business? So every dollar that goes into marketing, how much money do they make? At a minimum, absolute minimum, it needs to be three. But as you scale your business, you want to be 4, 5, or 7x on the marketing that you're spending. If anything, any marketing channel that you have in your business, you're making less than 3, you need to cut that out and put more money into marketing channels where you're making more than 3x on your money. So that's where our system can help you track those marketing KPIs in your business. But which campaign, or if you want to do testing based on, different font color, different postcard color, a different letter color, you could really, really deep dive into it. It gets a little bit more advanced, but at absolutely minimum, you want to track it on the marketing source type, digital marketing versus, let's say, PPC versus direct mail. And as you scale your business, then you want to start tracking within direct mail if you're doing probate list versus pre-foreclosure versus absentee list. So you really know how much money you're making at the end of the day. The goal is not to, a lot of people focus on, oh, I want to have a 7-figure business. But is the point really 7-figure business? Is that a vanity metric? Would you rather have $1 million business and only make $50,000 in net profit because you don't know your numbers? Or would you rather have $800,000 business and make $300,000 to $400,000 net profit? I would much rather have that because that's a
Definitely.
very lean, efficient business. I don't have to impress anyone to have a 7-figure business and then only make 50,000. I mean, we have investors that are doing multiple 7-figure business, but the goal is for them and for every successful investor to increase your net profit at the end of the day, because that's what you're
Course.
keeping, in your pocket. It's not the 7-figure, or it's not the top line number that's going into your pocket. It's the bottom line number after all the expenses are paid. So that's where you start looking at, okay, how can I be more efficient with my marketing? How can I really stretch my marketing dollars from getting 3, 4x on my marketing dollars to getting 5x, 7x, even 10x on my marketing dollars?
Excellent. I completely agree with you. Having more of a lean business is always more preferred than trying to hit
Right.
some larger number, but not knowing um, what you're spending on the marketing side. So taking a
Exactly.
step back and talking about, say, the leads, the off-market leads that you're able to curate. Another big question that I always get is, how do I know that I'm marketing to the right mailing list, or like the owner's mail address or the owner's
Right.
phone number? What are some methods that your software helps to validate those components?
Yeah, absolutely. So for one, you could skip trace within the platform. So let's say if you just have uh, the property address of a property, you could skip trace and get the mailing address. You could get owner's name, phone numbers, and email. Generally, it tends to be 60-70% accurate. That's pretty standard industry wide to get skip trace. But so you try out with the phone number, calling them, texting them, emailing them. If that doesn't work, it's very important to send them a direct mail if you've not been able to get in touch with someone through calling or texting, because a lot of people are getting calls and texts because it's so easy to
Yeah.
do that. And imagine you being on the other side, you're getting calls every day, you're getting text every day, and then all of a sudden you get a postcard from someone. It makes you stand out. So we highly recommend doing some sort of direct marketing as part of your follow-up if you have been unsuccessful getting uh, in touch with the seller. But yeah, you can do skip tracing. We also tell you if you have a property owner's information, once you enter the property address, we can tell you how many other properties the owner has. What is the value of their property? Is there any loan on that against that property? And how much is the equity? So for example, Adrian, you call me, I send out a direct mail, you call me about 123 Main Street and you give me the address and I put the address in my system and I notice, hey, you have 10 other properties without you telling me. And I could say, oh, Adrian, I was doing some research on my end and I noticed that in addition to 123 Main Street, you have 10 other properties that I'm also interested in selling.
Yeah.
And, you have that information. So it a conversation much farther, it makes you more informed and educated on the person that you're talking to. You may find out that you're trying to buy a property that's worth $200,000, but the seller has a loan of $250,000, then it may not be a deal for you. Or on the other side, the property is worth 200,000, but there's no lien or loan on that property. Then it tells you that the seller has a little bit of flexibility on their end to make a deal because they don't have a mortgage to pay off on their end.
Yeah. And then you could decide what
Yeah,
creative financing strategy would be
exactly.
best based off of that.
Exactly. And then also once you know how many other properties they own, that's a seller you're going to treat differently versus someone who just had one property versus the one that has 10 properties in their portfolio.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful information. Super useful to be able to bring back when calling and discussing with these property owners. So, with that, I'm very excited to get into the product and get a demo. But
Yeah.
first, a big part of our audience are those who are aspiring to be prop tech founders, for example, or build even their own tools for their own part of their business. What suggestions would you say for those who are seeking entrepreneurship as any general advice along their path?
I would say like have a clear vision of the problem that you're trying to solve, right? Don't get excited about a feature that you have. Always validate that idea with 10 other people, right? There's one thing about someone saying, "Oh, this is a cool feature," but then when you ask them, "Hey, would you pay for it?" Right? Would you pay to use this feature? That's a
Yeah.
totally different conversation. Like, it's funny. Like just yesterday. I posted on our Facebook group. I thought I had a great idea. So I had my designer make a mock-up and I put it on a Facebook group and I said, hey, if you had this feature where you could do this, would you pay for it? And then we had a poll of our customers. Majority of them said no. They said it's nice to have, but I would not pay for it. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. It just, we spent 1 hour of my designer to validate the idea, and we didn't like develop and then found out that it wasn't needed. So I think it's very important to be clear about what problem that you're trying to solve. The bigger the problem that you're trying to solve, the more value that you're generating. If you're trying to solve a very small problem and people aren't willing to pay for it, then there's no point. And if you're creating a new product, just keep in mind it needs to be at least 10 times better than the existing solution because it's very hard for people to switch from the product that they're using currently. So keep that in mind just because if there's an existing product and you feel like, hey, you have a feature set that's slightly better than the existing product, it may be overall be a better product, but imagine getting someone to switch over from the existing platform to a new platform. It's a pain. So keep that in mind, the problem that you're solving, and always validate against your potential customers and ask them, hey, if I created this, would you be willing to pay for it? Would you pay $50 a month? Would you pay $100 a month? Would you pay $200 a month? Just so that you understand, it's not you getting excited about an idea. You actually validate against people who would be paying to you at the end of the day. People that are paying you, your end customers, they're the ones, who are deciding what you should or should not develop.
Excellent, excellent advice. Validate your ideas, test them out with the market themselves, and also try to build something that's really adding value, not just
Yeah,
a micro
slightly
amount.
better. Yeah,
Yeah, it actually
exactly.
reminds me when I was working for Appfolio, which is a property management software company.
Right.
Although it was probably the leader in the space, so many people would be like, "Well, I don't want to move 500 properties onto new software because it's just
Exactly.
so much work. So we really need to make
Yeah.
something that's outstanding.
Yeah, if someone was starting out, they may look at a different product than Appfolio, but then Appfolio has a reputation in the market, right?
Right.
That goes a long way. If it were just brand new products, you might have a better product than Appfolio, but think about like, would someone be willing to switch over to a brand new product when it's just slightly better and not, 10 times better than the existing solution that you have?
Exactly. Well, I can't wait to see the demo, and we'll be doing that in
Okay.
the next segment. Thanks so much, Sharad.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ariel.